Well, I think Freud would have been very excited by this development. In the question of lay analysis, he talks about his hopes that one day there would be a university for psychotherapy, in particular psychoanalysis. And I think the big advantage of this project is that we can offer degree courses that not only train you as a psychotherapist and as a psychoanalyst, but also we can offer you possibilities for research and to get academic degrees. You see, Freud's idea was that psychoanalysis in particular should not become, as he said, the handmaiden of psychiatry or of psychology. It should be a discipline in itself. And I think the Sigmund Freud University in Vienna is the first institution that has made this possible, that you can get a bachelor's, a master's, a doctor's degree in psychotherapy as a science. Now, another question is that in the traditional training of psychoanalysts, and I must add that we have our own department of psychoanalytic studies in the Sigmund Freud University, because it's not just a method of treatment, it's also a probe, as Wilfried Bion said, into culture, into mythology, into religion, into politics, into art. It offers models of the mind and of the interaction of the human mind with society, which have an immense scope for study and for research. So the problem with traditional training in psychoanalysis has been that it's been rather sectarian. We've had special institutes, and by now, after over 100 years, psychoanalysis has developed enormously. There are schools of classical drive psychology, as Freud proposed it, ego psychology, as it was developed in the USA, object relations psychology, as it was developed in Great Britain under Melanie Klein and Donald Winnicott, Lacanian psychoanalysis, as it was developed in France. We now have relational psychoanalysis, as it's, again, an American development. So there's a host of different approaches, and usually if the candidate trains in an institute, he'll just get this one menu served. Now, the point of a university is to be universal, and I think this is what we can offer.
But we have only a certain period.
Yes, we have quite a short-term training, because the idea is not to keep our students in endless dependency, as I must say it often happens in classical psychoanalytic training, where students can spend 7, 8, 9 years until they finally finish, but to give them the impetus and the drive and the enthusiasm to carry on after this initial approach, to work things out for themselves. But in this relatively short time, they're introduced to many different models of treatment. Within psychoanalysis itself, the different approaches. Last year we had a visiting lecturer, Jan-Wolf Bernstein from the Bay Area in Berkeley, who gave a very good introduction to Lacanian psychoanalysis. Next year, Joel Whitebook from Columbia University is coming. He will teach critical theory, Adorno, Horkheimer, and the Frankfurt School. So it gives an opportunity for the students to learn about very many different aspects, not only within psychoanalysis, but also interdisciplinary with other schools of psychotherapy. We also have departments for family therapy, systemic family therapy, gestalt therapy, person-centered psychotherapy. So at least once in the semester, we have an interdisciplinary program where students can compare these different approaches, for instance, for particular problems, let's say borderline personality disorder, let's say depression, and see how these different schools will approach this and deal with it.
And how can the students find out whether psychoanalysis is the right method for them to study?
Well, our training program is such that they begin to take a bachelor's degree, and after 2 years of doing their bachelor's degree, in the third year, they decide on a specialization. And by that time, they've had an introduction to the various schools of psychotherapy, so they can choose which one they want to do. And then they will take their bachelor's at the end of the third year, already with a specialization, and in the master's degree, of course, as well. We do have an opportunity now in our outpatient department, which is very well frequented, of also treating English-speaking patients. So there's a possibility also of working here under supervision, and not just doing the theoretical training, but a lot of clinical work as well. So, all in all, if I can sum it up, I can say this is a very fascinating, dynamic and exciting approach. I'm very glad to be associated with this model. And I think it's going to give the whole impetus of looking at psychoanalysis as a modern, contemporary way of dealing with the many different unconscious problems that concern us, not only in our personal pathology and our relationship disorders and psychosomatic disorders, but also to study what's affecting our civilization. And of course, there's a possibility now to look at this globally. We have students now from Southeast Asia, from East Asia, from North America, South America, from Eastern Europe. There's a tremendous process of cross-fertilization going on here, which I think will give psychoanalysis and psychotherapy in general a tremendous push for the future. It's a good team. We enjoy working together. There's a very enthusiastic, encouraging approach. So I look forward to welcoming students here for the next year.